WWE Extreme Rules takes place tonight live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 7 p.m. start time, as it is for all of these pay-per-views now. You can visit WrestleRumble.com, by the way, to take part in their Extreme Rules Pick'em contest. And if you do so, you could win up to $500. I do the Pick'ems usually every month. They're a lot of fun. So that's the place to go for that. I'll just sort of mix in my Raw and SmackDown thoughts where appropriate as I go through. I'm not going to do everything separately. I'll just sort of mix them in here with the predictions. There's no sense in doing it separately at this point. There have been two matches so far announced for the kickoff show. Andrade Cien Almas against Sin Cara in a rematch from SmackDown last Tuesday. Almas won that first match. I think he's winning this one too. I really liked that match from Tuesday that they had. I think that was the best Sin Cara match, maybe that I've ever seen in his entire WWE run. The second Sin Cara, actually probably both Sin Caras, because the first Sin Cara didn't really do much in WWE before he flamed out. But I can't think of a better Sin Cara match that I've seen in a very long time. And Almas looked good too. They work very well together. So I think this should be a fun match. But I think Cien Almas is going over again. New Day takes on Sanity in a tables match. They had a big 10-man tag at the end of SmackDown last Tuesday. Eric Young ate the pin from Daniel Bryan. Sanity has not exactly been a big winner since coming up to the main roster. I think they need this win more. If they're going to continue this feud, maybe into SummerSlam, they need to make it interesting. And the way to make it interesting is to have the heels go over so that eventually the babyfaces can get their revenge. So I'm picking Sanity here. Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt defend their Raw Tag Team titles against the B Team, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. I think the champs are retaining here. Any other outcome here would be a joke. And this paves the way, perhaps, for the authors of Pain to attack, either after the match is over, maybe the next night on Raw, and they could stake their claim to being next in line for the Tag Team titles. Constable Corbin takes on Finn Balor. I gotta stop calling him that. Every time I say it, I think I almost slipped and said Constipated Corbin. Baron Corbin takes on Finn Balor. They had Corbin on Raw singing Itsy Bitsy Spider to mock Finn Balor. That is what this feud has come to. He called him Itsy Bitsy Balor. The only itsy bitsy thing here is my interest level in this match. Balor should win. He should be done with this. But it's the first match of what I'm sure will be multiple ones. So I predict Corbin wins. And really, in the long run, let's be honest here, what does it even matter? Balor could lose here. He could lose the next one. If he wins at the end of the feud and then moves on to challenge for the IC title, or I was going to say the Universal title, but you kind of need a champion around to do that. It won't matter. I mean, if they're trying to get Corbin over, even if you're not a Baron Corbin fan, and I am not the biggest Baron Corbin fan, they have to get some new names over. I don't know if you'd consider him new. I guess he's still kind of sort of new to Raw. He hasn't really done much since coming to Raw. So if they're trying to make something happen with him, that's fine. But just not into it. Carmella defends her SmackDown Women's Championship against Asuka, with James Ellsworth hanging above the ring in a shark cage. They do love the shark cage gimmick. Must have gotten a bunch of inventory back from Toys R Us. Have a lot of shark cages to sell. Plus, it just so happens to be Shark Week next week, which I'm sure the announcers will remind us of a few dozen times. Asuka had a lumberjack match with Ellsworth last Tuesday on SmackDown and won after Carmella's attempt to feed a spray bottle to Ellsworth backfired. So now he'll be locked above the ring in a cage, but that doesn't, of course, mean that he still can't funnel weapons or items down from the cage to Carmella, or otherwise just be a distraction. He's skinny enough, maybe he can fit through the bars the way that Enzo Amore did once upon a time. Asuka loses again, I predict, when Ellsworth finds a way to get involved. So I'm picking Carmella to retain here, and I think it's Becky Lynch with the feel-good comeback story taking that championship from Carmella at SummerSlam. Or at least it should be. If I'm the one sort of telling the story here, I mean, again, she's been very low-key, winning match after match after match now for a number of months, and she's been making this very quiet comeback. I say quiet because, the announcers may have mentioned that she's been winning, but there hasn't really been a lot of attention or a lot of focus put on her. But it's certainly been noticeable that she's been winning a lot more than she had been. And she's still very popular. People like Becky Lynch. And I think they would get behind that story of her trying to sort of reestablish herself and be the one to take the championship from the very annoying Carmella in Brooklyn. So hopefully that's the direction they're thinking of. We have Team Hell No reunited. Kane and Daniel Bryan challenging the Bludgeon Brothers for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. I don't think they're changing the titles here, nor do I want them to. It wouldn't be a big deal if they did a title change for a big pop and then put the belts right back on Harper and Rowan on Tuesday. I don't know what purpose that would serve. But I think the Bludgeon Brothers are retaining. Daniel Bryan should be wrestling a singles match at SummerSlam. I don't care what happens with his contract. And now he did an interview with a publication just this week, basically saying he'll probably sign. He'll likely re-sign with WWE. And so we'll see how that works out. They're negotiating things at the moment. But whether he stays or goes, he needs to be in a high-profile singles match at SummerSlam. And I only pray that it's not against Kane. Because if I get my wish and the Team Hell No thing is short-lived, they could just turn around and have Kane turn on him again. And we can do Daniel Bryan against Kane at SummerSlam. And I certainly don't want to see that. I knew the mayoral election for Kane is coming up early next month. Perhaps his return will be short-lived. I just don't want to see the tired old Kane turning on Daniel Bryan. We don't need to revisit this match and this feud 4 years ago was shit, and I don't see it being any better in 2018. Bryan should be facing someone. Now, you look at the top names on SmackDown, right? And even names maybe that aren't at the tippy top of the pecking order on that show. You got AJ Styles, you've got Samoa Joe, you've got Shinsuke Nakamura, you've got The Miz, even somebody like Cien Almas. Any one of those five, literally any one of those 5 matches would be more appealing than Bryan either facing Kane or teaming with Kane. This reunion is going to have a short shelf life. We know this. There is no need to take the titles off the Bludgeon Brothers just yet. So I say Harper and Rowan retain. Dolph Ziggler defends his Intercontinental Championship against Seth Rollins in a 30-minute Iron Man match. One of the few good things about Raw last week was that Seth Rollins Drew McIntyre main event, which McIntyre won thanks to Dolph getting involved. Now that's important because that gives McIntyre a win over Seth Rollins. And if Rollins regains the championship, which I think he will, I'm picking Seth Rollins to win back the IC title in this match. If Rollins regains the championship, McIntyre has a clear rationale in storyline now for being the next in line for a title shot. He beat the champion. It's like Owen Hart beating Bret at WrestleMania 10. He beat him at the beginning of the show. By the end of the night, Bret was the champion. If you're Owen Hart, you shouldn't have to win King of the Ring. You should have a clear path to that first championship match, right? Same logic applies here. But, so would Ziggler. Because if Ziggler loses tonight, they have this automatic rematch BS in this company. He's entitled to an automatic rematch for the championship. That then creates tension between Ziggler and McIntyre going into perhaps a triple threat match at SummerSlam. That's what I see happening. Now, the only wrinkle in all this is that we don't yet know who will be challenging Brock Lesnar for the Universal title at SummerSlam. And oh yeah, by the way, you didn't hear? All the latest reports? Brock Lesnar's going to defend his championship at SummerSlam? If only there had been somebody here to sing you a song about it a few weeks ago. Yeah, you can't see it right now, but this is my shocked face. Of course he's wrestling at SummerSlam. I've been saying that from day one. It should have been obvious to anybody. He was never not wrestling at SummerSlam. So it's likely going to be Roman Reigns or Bobby Lashley, right, challenging for the Universal title. But there is always the chance that they could make the call to change things up a little bit and have Seth Rollins be the one to challenge Brock Lesnar instead, in which case he would have to lose here. I don't see the point in him winning if he's going to move on and challenge for the Universal title. But then I guess, how do you make sense? If this guy can't beat Dolph Ziggler and win the IC title, then how do you kind of make that leap, I guess, to him challenging Brock Lesnar? But they can find ways around that. McIntyre could screw him, They can end up having a number one contenders match on TV that Rollins wins. There's any number of ways that you could get to Rollins and Lesnar if that's the direction you wanted to go in. Unfortunately, I think that any hope of that has long faded. I think Seth wins. I think I think he'll win one fall to none. I think this is one of those times they're probably going to go with one fall the entire match. We just saw them have a 27 or 28-minute match on TV a few weeks ago. Okay, so basically we already saw them do a 30-minute match, and it wasn't a case where they were swapping falls back and forth. So why now? Why would it end up being 5-4, right, or 4-2 or something? I think this comes down to one deciding fall that Rollins wins, and I think there's a very good chance we end up with that three-way match at SummerSlam. Braun Strowman gets Kevin Owens inside of a steel cage. These two have had the Tom and Jerry routine going on now for the last month or so. It's very hit or miss. Sometimes it's worked. Sometimes it has not, like the porta potty stuff. You may have laughed. I didn't. But Owens can be very funny. He can be very entertaining. So I think that we're in for more comedy here, more funny facial expressions. But in the end, Braun Strowman is the Money in the Bank holder. And he should not be losing in a comedy match. Not only should he win, and not only do I believe he will win, he's my pick to win this match, but I think that he should be the first person out on Monday night when Raw goes on the air. I think he should walk out to the ring, and I think he should walk out to announce that he is, a month in advance, pledging his intent to cash in his Money in the Bank contract at SummerSlam against Brock Lesnar. He needs to come out and call out Brock Lesnar. None of this chicken shit, I'll cash in when everybody is laid out or everybody is dead tired. That's not who the Braun Strowman character is supposed to be. I mean, think about it. If anybody on that roster would call their shot and announce in advance that he's cashing in, it's Braun Strowman. And then they could end up adding Roman Reigns or Bobby Lashley, let's be honest, Roman Reigns, and make it a triple threat if that's what they want to do. I mean, you may not like that, but we all know Roman Reigns is very likely challenging in some way for that championship, or he's one of the people who will be challenging for that championship at SummerSlam. So then, if they want to work Roman in, if he either wins on this show or there's a number one contenders match between now and then, make it a triple threat, fine. But at least the fans in Brooklyn that night will have somebody to root for in that match. Alexa Bliss defends the Raw Women's title against Nia Jax. The suspended, except for house shows, Ronda Rousey will be ringside for this match. Likely will factor into the finish in some way. I predict Alexa to retain. I think most people probably would predict Alexa to retain here and then get her arm snapped at SummerSlam. Jeff Hardy defends his United States Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura, all healed up from the dog bite. Nakamura had no fewer than, I lost count, honestly, 4 or 5 chances at the WWE title, and he failed every single time. Even the matches where it was a draw, or if there was anything where he won by DQ or count out, I don't remember, but he was a failure because he had at least 4, if not 5 opportunities at the championship, and he has still never been WWE champion. He failed to bring home the gold. If he can't win the U.S. title, okay, so now he's been knocked down a few pegs. If he can't even win the U.S. title, it may be time to reevaluate what this guy is even doing here. That plus, based on all these different reports, Jeff Hardy is very beat up right now, so it just wouldn't shock me if maybe he needed some time off. The time is right, I think, to do the title change, and I'm picking Nakamura to win the U.S. Championship here. AJ Styles defends the WWE title against Rusev. Rusev was gold on commentary last Tuesday during the match between Styles and Nakamura, but there was also a moment where he got kind of serious, and he said that he's waited 4 years for this opportunity. He's never had a shot at the WWE Championship. 4 years he has waited for this opportunity. He said, I came out riding a frickin' tank once. And what has he done since then? Bupkis. Nothing. But then the Rusev Day stuff, very organically on its own, just took on a life of its own and got over, and it breathed new life into a dead career. Now he's getting his first shot at the championship. I'd like to say that they're going to shock the world here, but this is the same company that put the championship on Jinder Mahal last year. I hardly think Rusev becoming champion would shock the world at this point. I think it would be fine if they wanted to give this guy a run, even if just for a month, and see how he handles it and how the crowd takes to him. But I also don't think it's time yet to take the title off AJ Styles. So yeah, I'd like to see Rusev become WWE champion, even if just for a month, and see how he does. I think that could be cool. But I'm not ready. I don't think the time is right to take the championship off AJ. After all this time, almost 400 days as champion, I think if he drops it, it's going to be at SummerSlam. But I'm fine with either one of these guys winning. I just think it's going to be AJ retaining. And then we have Roman Reigns. Very likely what will be the main event of this show. Although supposedly they're debating what match should go on last. Should it be AJ? Should it be the Iron Man match? Should it be this match? You know where my money is on. Roman Reigns against Bobby Lashley. On a show called Extreme Rules, the very likely main event of this show has no stipulation. So what is so extreme about this match? It's been an extremely boring journey to get here. The big pull-apart brawl at the beginning of Raw last Monday was probably the most interesting thing they've done with these two guys, but it's still not enough to get me interested in this match. You want to know what will get me interested in this match? If they go out there and have a great match. Lashley's work so far since he's been back has been very shaky on that front. Roman Reigns, he's had plenty of great pay-per-view matches. You can be a Roman Reigns hater and deny it all you want to, but his track record, he's gone out there and had some excellent pay-per-view main events in the past. Bobby Lashley, at least since he's come back, I can't think of one. So this is more of a test, I think, for Lashley than anything else. Now, Roman winning feels like the predictable outcome, obviously. And, you know, it also hurts Lashley. He needs this more than Roman does. What has Lashley done? What has Bobby Lashley done since coming back to the main roster? And, you know, here's their out as it relates to SummerSlam. They never did announce this, unless they do tonight, but up to this point, unless I'm completely out to lunch here, they have never announced this as a number one contenders match. They were going to do a multi-man, 5-6-man match on this pay-per-view. They did the storyline where, you know, we couldn't come to terms with Brock Lesnar. He's not going to be at SummerSlam, so the match is off. And then it just turned into a singles match. But it never turned into a number one contenders singles match. Right? So just because Lashley wins, if Lashley were to pull out the win here, does not mean that he goes on to face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. I mean, he'll stake his claim, I'm sure, that he should be the one. He should be the number one contender. But WWE could very easily book a rematch on Raw sometime in the next few weeks or some other kind of multi-man match on TV and make that a number one contenders match and have Roman Reigns win and go on to face Brock Lesnar. And, you know, because it has no special stipulation, they can save the no DQ stip or whatever for the rematch. But yeah, this has no stip at all. I'm picking Bobby Lashley. I think that they're going to try to shock people who think they know that Roman Reigns is going to win. And like I said, they'll use that as an out. Just because Lashley wins does not mean, oh my God, Roman Reigns is not going to be facing Brock Lesnar. No, it doesn't mean that at all. Lashley could win here and it doesn't hurt Roman. It doesn't hurt whatever their plans are for Reigns. But at least it gives Lashley a credible win against the big name on the show. So I'm picking Lashley. So that's 11 matches. That is a full card, a very full card. That includes a 30-minute Iron Man match. So it's going to be a long night, as most of these pay-per-views are, as they all now start at 7 p.m. It's going to be a long night.